America, the land of opportunity, right? Think about this. The best and greatest country in the world, the best country that ever existed, liberty, freedom, prosperity, on and on and on. But look at you. It's the land of milk and honey, but everyone is always trying to find a side hustle. Everyone is endlessly talking about being on their grind. You know, motivational speakers are a $1 billion industry. Life coaches, self-help books. Social media is full of inspirational quotes, so-called, on and on, for supposedly people who are living in the best country in the world. While you look like, to everyone else, you look like you're constantly on the verge of a nervous breakdown. You look like you're barely holding it together. Like you need someone to pump you up just to help you get out of bed in the morning. How great can it really be? Okay, I mean, let's do an evaluation of reality, just for a second, you know? Let's look at the situation in America objectively. Maybe some of the elements that are usually overlooked in America, or that are only overlooked in isolation. But let's look at it as a whole. Let's look at it as an organic whole. First of all, roughly half of all of the current working age population in America today, the adult population, between 40 to 50% of the adults who are in America today, who are, you know, in the leading positions in America, whether it's in business or in government or what have you, about half of the adult population in America grew up with divorced parents, means single mothers mostly. Okay, well, we're all aware of the emotional and the developmental issues that can affect kids when they're growing up in broken homes, homes without fathers, and so on. There is trauma from that, no doubt. No matter how great that mother is, no matter how great that father may be, a child without two parents who are actively involved in bringing that child up, that child has a much harder time than a child who has both parents. That's a statistical fact. Okay, so half of your adults grew up like that. They were impacted by that. Then if you look at the statistics of abuse and neglect that was reported throughout the 1980s and 1990s, somewhere between 25% and 40% of all American adults today suffered abuse while they were growing up. Physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, emotional neglect, and so on. Do you understand? So you have that trauma as well in your adult population, and all of the associated psychological aftermath of that they're dealing with, that they're coping with. At least 10% of American adults today grew up in poverty and economic hardship when they were children. And now in adulthood, 25% of adult American women have been victims of rape or attempted rape. And half of all American women have experienced some form of sexual violence. A quarter of all men, American men, have suffered some form of sexual violence in the United States. Now, if you look at the other crime statistics of the past, say 4 decades, then that would leave you with 20% of all Americans who know someone who's been murdered. It's a brutal society. The people have grown up with severe and abnormal conditions in that country, all of which are deteriorative to their mental health. And now think about the fact that an adult in America today, say someone who was born in 1990, if they were born in 1990, they're 35 years old now, they likely spent 50,000 hours watching television, 40,000 hours surfing the internet, and up to 20,000 hours playing video games. That's 110,000 hours of passive media consumption, 35% of their entire life. That's more time than they probably spent working or studying or even sleeping. It's equivalent to spending every waking moment of an entire decade glued to a screen. I mean, in fact, if you want to be accurate about it, we should just subtract the time that they probably slept. You know, only count their waking hours. In that case, the average 35-year-old American has literally spent more than half of their life watching television, surfing the internet, or playing video games. Passive consumption of media, roughly 55% of their lives. I mean, no wonder whenever anything even mildly interesting happens in their life, they'll say, wow, it was just like a movie, without fail, you know? Because media is literally their frame of reference. Media, popular media, not actual experience. Now combine that with the real trauma issues that they have from growing up and from the violence and the insecurity of their society where they live. They're not processing any of that. They're not processing anything that they've been through. Instead, there's just escapism, avoidance, isolation, desensitization, you know? and this, escape into false versions of reality, simplified versions of reality, and so on. The Instagram world, the virtual universe of the internet becomes their unnatural, natural habitat. The average 35-year-old American male has spent roughly 3,000 hours watching pornography. That's equivalent to about 5 months of continuous non-stop viewing. Okay, obviously all of this combined has devastating cognitive impact. Attention spans evaporate. There's a sort of a constant state of partial attention where people are continuously distracted. They're kind of paying attention and kind of not. It erodes their critical thinking skills, their problem-solving skills. It deteriorates both their working memory and their long-term memory. It erodes their emotional regulation. It causes anxiety. It causes depression. It causes volatility. It impairs their social skills, their communication skills, their empathy, their ability to even interact with people face-to-face properly. It programs you with a kind of behavioral addiction, low impulse control, on and on. Not to mention information overload, where you're accessing far more information than you could ever process. And all this just ends up making your whole perspective of the world an incoherent jumble of random bits of data, random theories and opinions, and so on. And again, remember, all of this cognitive damage is being inflicted on people who most likely are already carrying real life trauma that has never been dealt with from their childhood and from growing up. And okay, if you can afford it, you can go to therapy. Everybody's going to a therapist, right? Well, over 60% of therapists themselves report that they themselves have psychological and emotional disorders. Because of course they do. They come from the same society. They try to rationalize that by calling themselves wounded healers. But very often they wound more than they heal. Because there's a very significant number of therapy patients who report abuse of one form or another from their therapists. I mean, ideally, you'd be able to talk to your family. That's what normal people would do. But we've already said that a lot of them, at least 40-50% of them, come from broken homes. And about 30% of all American adults report that they are estranged from their families, from their parents, or from their siblings. The average close friendship in America doesn't last more than 5 years. Forget about romantic relationships, dating relationships, that barely makes it to 2 years. Usually it's only a few months. Even most marriages don't last a decade in the United States. You're people who are adrift. It's a society that's adrift. There's no anchor, there's no port, there's no dock, there's no rudder. There's no map and there's no destination. That's your society. I mean, look, America, the land of opportunity, right? Think about this. The best and greatest country in the world, the best country that ever existed, liberty, freedom, prosperity, on and on and on. But look at you. It's the land of milk and honey, but everyone is always trying to find a side hustle. Everyone is endlessly talking about being on their grind. Motivational speakers are $1 billion industry. Life coaches, self-help books. Social media is full of inspirational quotes, so-called, on and on, for supposedly people who are living in the best country in the world. While you look like, to everyone else, you look like you're constantly on the verge of a nervous breakdown. You look like you're barely holding it together. Like you need someone to pump you up just to help you get out of bed in the morning. How great can it really be? You flood social media with that stuff. All that you can do it, the you can do it affirmations, all the you will survive this posts. You're beautiful, you're important, you're special, you're a champion. All of that. You flood social media with that. You flood social media with those things. And everyone in the world sees it. You understand? Everyone in the world sees that, and it looks to them like America is staring in the bathroom mirror trying to pull themselves together to face the day. That's what it looks like. You see what I mean? It looks very sad to people outside. People in countries that don't proclaim to be the greatest and most wonderful nation on earth, well, they don't have to hype themselves up just to do normal things. They don't have to hype themselves up just to function in the world. People in Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Latin America, so-called, they don't need motivational speakers. They don't need life coaches. They don't need inspirational Instagram quotes just to be able to stop crying in the office parking lot and go to work. Honestly, it always looks like it's a toss-up with you, whether you're going to post an inspirational, motivational quote on social media or jump off the roof. You know, to the rest of the world, your society looks like a wreck, looks like an emotional wreck. But you see, that's because the rest of the world did not spend a third of their life glued to a screen. The average person in the global south has spent a fraction of the time that Americans have spent consuming media. They also have better relationships with their families. They have better friendships. They have better support networks. You know, they have better ways of coping with trauma. They have better ways of coping with difficulty and so on. Even though they're not fortunate enough to live in the best country in the world, you know. Bolivia's bathroom isn't framed with, you know, sticky notes telling it what a winner it is and how it's going to crush it today. Indonesia isn't driving to work listening to Tony Robbins on their headphones. Do you know the awkward, embarrassed silence you would get in Mauritania if you tried to give a confidence-boosting pep talk to a bunch of students? I mean, the only people in the global south, the only people in the Muslim world that this would resonate with at all are the people in those countries who are westernized. Isn't that funny? The more westernized you become, the more Americanized you become, the more you need constant affirmations and constant confidence boosting. Because westernization is alienation from normal human approaches to life, even for Westerners. And see, I'm saying all of this to say, this is why I say that all they do is lie. All they can do is lie, without even meaning to lie. They can't be truthful because they are estranged from the truth. They're estranged from reality. They're estranged from the real world. Their cognitive health is damaged. Their cognitive functions, you know, their thinking skills, their concept of reality. And there's always this smoldering, simmering, mental, psychological, and emotional illness that they're constantly trying to suppress and deny. They're barely holding themselves together, wallahi. Like I said, you flood social media with all your insecurity. You flood social media with all your inadequacy, your low self-esteem continuously. All the, you know, forced displays of bliss, all the beauty filters, all the endless cliched personal development advice. Everyone knows that you're not trying to inspire anyone but yourself. Because your life is so vacuous, your life is so purposeless, your life is so mundane compared to the fake version of life that you spent 100,000 hours absorbing since childhood. And you can't bear to compare the reality of your life with that false version of reality. So you barely are able to even walk out the door without medicating yourself in the morning, medicating yourself either with alcohol or narcotics or prescription drugs, or medicating yourself with social media likes for some vapid quote about living your best life. I mean, think about it. Your society came up with this thing. You tell people, fake it until you make it. Fake it. Fake being capable. Fake being qualified. Fake being successful. Fake being happy. You know, fake being beautiful with your beauty filters. Fake being fit. Fake being healthy. Fake being motivated. Fake being strong. Fake being wise, fake being smart, fake being informed. This is what you teach your people. This is what you teach your society. Why? Is it because you used to teach them that if you work hard, you can make it, and everyone found out that that was a lie? So now you tell them that the key to success is to be fake? What kind of culture is this? And again, understand that you're broadcasting this pathology all across the internet to the whole world. The whole world sees it. And now everyone knows that you're faking. Everyone knows that you're frauds. See, I'm telling you, it's impossible to get anything even like the truth from these people, because they themselves are cut off from the truth. It's not their fault. It's not necessarily because they are deliberately lying. They're deliberately dishonest. No, but they are no more capable of telling the truth than I'm capable of speaking Swahili. They can't make any sense even if they want to. The society has paralyzed them. They've been victimized. They've been traumatized. And then they were propagandized. They've been militarized, desensitized, dehumanized, and monetized. And yes, they've been neutralized, and that's a whole lot of lies. You know? So if you're American, I mean, if you're Western generally, but especially if you're American, if you were raised in America, and you went through that 110,000 hours of programming, then you have to understand that in order for you to even start learning about reality, if to even start learning, you have to understand you're not even starting at zero. You're in a hole. You're at less than zero. Because it isn't just that you're ignorant about the world, you have been miseducated about the world. So you have to actually unlearn all of that miseducation. You know, all of those tens of thousands of hours of programming, hundreds of thousands, in fact, because that includes not just your media consumption, but it also includes your schooling, your so-called education too. So you have to unlearn all of that indoctrination. You have to unlearn all of that programming just to get you out of that hole, just to get you up to zero. You understand? So that then maybe you can actually start to learn about the world that you live in. You have to get to zero first. But not only have they got you in a hole, they've got you to where you don't even know how to climb out of the hole. You don't even have those skills, the climbing skills, because they taught you the most dysfunctional approach to knowledge and the most dysfunctional approach to the processing of information imaginable. You know, it's an approach that basically prevents any sort of understanding. And I think it's calculated. See, this is where you have to understand that there's layers of gaslighting that they do. The complexity of their tactics to mislead you. It's not that straightforward. It's not just that, you know, the gaslighting for them isn't just that they want to make you believe that you're not seeing what you think you're seeing. You know, it's not just trying to tell you that something is other than what it is, and what you can tell it is what you see it is. That's amateur level, you know, telling you it's day when it's actually night. No, they go deeper than that. They'll actually have you doubting your own reasoning. They'll make you doubt not only what you're seeing, but they'll make you doubt the whole mental process that takes place in your mind that explains to you what you're seeing. They're throwing a monkey wrench in the whole machinery of your common sense. Like if it's night, okay, if it's night and they tell you that it's day, then they'll tell you, well, the sun is actually there. It didn't go away. Technically, the sun's light is still shining on the earth after all. So what does night really even mean, actually? You know, night means the absence of the sun, right? And the sun is never actually absent. So really, there's no such thing as night, actually, if you think about it. See what I mean? This is what they do. This is how they play with words. This is how they manipulate and how they abuse normal logical sense, just so that they can make everything nonsensical. Because when everything is nonsense, then nothing means anything. There is no right or wrong. Nothing has a definition. Nothing has any meaning. Everything is arbitrary. Everything is subjective. Everything is meaningless. And that's how they want it. That's how they want you to operate in the world. I'm telling you, it's intellectual sadism. They're torturing your mind. And they've done it to you your whole life. And then at the end of that, even intelligence and even sense don't have any meaning or value. Which means that anyone and everyone's opinion has equal validity and equal value, which is the same thing as devaluing knowledge, devaluing truth. Please understand me. And that's free speech, so-called. You know, free speech, the way they do it, is just a way to completely drown out reasonable, intelligent, informed, and knowledgeable voices. That's why they support free speech. Because the truth is, if you want to learn, the only way to learn is to listen. Is to shut your own mouth and listen. There's no other way to do it. Nobody learns by talking. Your own voice never taught you anything. You know, they say talk is cheap. Well, in America, it's free. And they made it free for a reason. And the reason is because they want the noise. They want the noise. They've worked it out so that you can actually censor people even more effectively by letting everyone talk. Now they don't have to silence anyone anymore. They don't have to silence anyone. All you have to do is increase the volume on everyone so that then the voices that you should be listening to can't be heard. Oh, it's brilliant. It's as brilliant as it is diabolical. Now that's the way they can make sure that you never get out of the hole. You see how it works? So my message first is for the Muslims. For the Muslims, for our ummah, and for the people in the global south more broadly. The decolonization of your intellect requires that you recognize that non-Muslim Westerners, that Americans, are literally incapable of telling the truth. Even if they want to, they can't do it. You're dealing with the people who are afflicted with debilitating cognitive damage, debilitating emotional disorders, crippling psychological and mental confusion and dysfunction. They'll treat a yes or no question like it's a multiple choice. They'll treat it like it's an essay question. No, you need to push all of that aside. You need to push all of that off the table. You need to hit the mute button on all of that. And as for Westerners, as for Americans, I'm telling you that you need to recognize what your society has done to you. You need to recognize that no society that cares about you would ever do that to you. And you need to realize that your society requires you to pump yourself up, hype yourself up, intravenously inject a constant flow of affirmations and motivations and constant pressure to fight and to struggle and to hustle and to compete and fake it until you make it. Well, that's not a society that wants you to succeed. That's a society that does not facilitate your success. It's a society that makes success unattainable. And then they try to make you feel like it's your fault that you're not a billionaire. They want you to feel like it's your fault and that you're a failure because their system is rigged. They want you to think that it's all your fault that 10% of that population controls 70% of the wealth. And make you think it's your fault that you didn't try hard enough to get into that 10%, as if the 90% of the population are the blameworthy ones, and not the inhumanly greedy 10%. And you need to realize that your society has wronged you. They've wronged you very badly. You need to realize that you're not safe, you're not healthy, you're not informed, and you're not happy. And they have deprived you of even the ability to ever become any of those things. All you can do, all you are allowed to do, and all that is actually required of you to do is to fake it. No matter how bad it is, no matter how bad it gets, you're expected to just slap on a big white tooth smiling filter and pretend. They want you to perform America. That's your obligation. Forget about your own happiness. You have to perform America for the world. Never mind that that whole audience is mortified by this performance, and they've already left the building.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Furaha. If you're joining us for the first time, kindly consider subscribing to my channel. Be part of this amazing family, and returning subscribers, thank you so much guys. I really appreciate everything that you have done for me, for my channel. You know, the kind of support that you have been giving me over time, and you know, we have grown. Yeah, we might not have gotten to where we want to get, but we have really come a long way, and I really appreciate each and every one of you for that kind of support. Now guys, on today's video we're talking about our favorite human, and that is Shahid Bolson. Now Shahid Bolson has been on the front line to fight and advocate for the rights of Black people. He has always been speaking up for Black people, making sure that he points out whenever white people are messing with Black people, whenever they are doing things that are not exactly pleasant to hear or see them do to Black people. He has always taken that responsibility, you know, talking about it and educating white people, for instance. And I know for a fact that by the time you're watching this video, it is very hard for anyone, especially white people, to say that they do not know a thing about racism, they do not know a thing about how their racist activities hurt Black people. And that is because, you know, Black people have talked about it, they have explained and expressed themselves and how they get hurt by the things that these people do to them. Now, it has also gotten to a point where people like Shahid Bolson, white men and women, and when we're talking about women, we can talk, for example, about Jen Elliott, and they have been on the front line talking about these things. They have explained to fellow white people that racism works in this and that manner. And by you doing, for example, this and that activity, you're hurting Black people. And they have explained further. They have done a lot of digging deep, you know, they have done a lot of consultations with Black people. They have even done a lot of research. By the time they are talking about the things that they talk about, you know, if you are a Black person and you're hearing them talk, they speak as if they have experienced racism firsthand. But that is only because they have done their thorough research. They have made sure to share with Black people, exactly get to know how it feels that the time when these things are being done to them. And they have come with a lot of strategies to help white people to know how to treat black people better. Now, that comes as a result of all the conditioning that white people have gone through, all the things they have been taught about black people, the kind of way they view black people, and that is carried on from generation to generation. They are taught actively how to hate on black people despite everything that black people try to do, being nice to them, helping them when they need help, being with them, even sometimes inviting them to cookouts, yeah. And you as a black person know how cookouts are important to black people, but they have done that. Black people have tried everything possible to make sure that they have a good relationship with white people. And sometimes most of black people have even gone as far as, um, not caring about their own mental health, the state of their thought process, because now they have put their lives in line because they want to please the white people. They want to be seen as different. They want to be viewed as if they are important. And if you have been watching my videos most of the time, we have talked about these things and discussed them at length. We have talked about if you are a black person and you want to be nice to white people, expecting that they will treat you as a human being, expecting that they will handle you the same way they handle their white people, you are lying to yourself. They don't do that, and many people have tried and failed. Many people have had that thought before and they have done it, and the result is always the same, that these people will treat their own kind better than they will ever treat anyone close. And when you're talking about black people, it's even worse, yeah. They do not regard black people as human beings or as full human beings. They treat them anyhow. They do not care about their emotions, how they feel about the things that they do. But I am thankful to people like Shahid Bolson, like Jen Elliott, like Tim Wise, and many of you people that have done these things in private. I am well aware that there are white people that do these things in private, yeah. They have stood up for black people, black children. They have exposed racists, and they have made sure that they're making the world a better place for black people, for black kids, and just generally making the experience of black people living in America a bit better. Yeah, and for that reason, if you are that kind of a person, just know that we appreciate you a lot over here. And we thank you for that kind of heart that you have, and continue being a nice human being. And you know, it's just the least that we can do, because we are not even supposed to be talking about a world in 2026 where we're still talking about racism. We're still discussing how people hate each other because of their skin color. They're making black people and Africans to hate themselves, to hate their own kind. Black people have now started looking at each other and thinking they are the white people are better than them. Now, if you want to know the heights of that kind of wickedness and how far it has gone, you will want to see how black people treat their fellow black people. They treat them in such a manner that, if there was a white person around there, the white person would get better treatment more than the black person would ever get, because they have been conditioned and they have accepted it, and they have made sure that that has clicked in their minds, and they think that that is the reality of life, that white people are actually better than them. The white people are actually, more important than any black person can ever be. And that is the kind of conditioning that we're talking about over here. Now, the other thing that we can discuss over this video is the fact that the American people and everyone at all, they have been lied to about the American dream. Now, people have grown up thinking that, once they go to school, once they have a few of their things in place, once they have gathered like all the skills that they need, then their life is going to be better, that their lives are going to, match the standards of the effort and the work that they have put in throughout the ages. Now, you have gone to school, you have studied whatever course you studied, you have started looking for a job, you found a job for yourself. Now, the kind of pay that you're being given is not equal to the tasks that you're taking up. It's not equal to the living standard that you wished to have while you were going to school and all that. Now people are becoming disillusioned. People are thinking the American dream was a lie. And there was someone that I think said something in the lines of, the American dream can only be real to you if you're sleeping, because you can only believe it if you're deep asleep. That's hence the name, the American dream. Now, for people to get this much disillusioned, it's because of the things that are happening in the country. Look at, for example, the financial situation of people, people that thought by this time of the year they would be having financial freedom, they would be having their things in place. If they have projects, they're going to be like doing them easily, and no complications. But look at the situation now. People can barely afford house rent, they can barely afford food. We are talking about people not being able to afford food. We're talking about people not being able to afford the basic things in life, even clothing, even shelter. Now many people are complaining about being a paycheck away from being homeless, and that is just the situation worsening by day. Things are not getting better, things are actually getting worse, and the American people are tired. They're complaining, and the system and the people that are in power, the ones that are actually supposed to work on these things and make sure that things become better, they're not paying mind to them. They're not paying attention to them. They're not even listening to them to begin with. And people are losing hope. People are giving up. People are now feeling like they do not have a government. They do not have anyone that cares about them. And they're on their own. Now, that is the reality for most people in America, and for most white people. They actually thought this was going to be a reality for only black people, and shockingly enough, this is happening to them as well. They're also experiencing this dramatic shift from where you could basically afford anything, just about anything that you wanted or needed, to now this point where you have to really budget for your stuff. You cannot just buy stuff like that anymore. You have to budget. You have to make sure that you're buying only the necessary stuff. And the other things that are luxurious, you have to let them go for now until things become better. And people have waited for things to become better, but to know, that nothing has been happening towards that direction. And the people of America are complaining about this thing because the American dream that they were sold was never these things that they're experiencing right now. The things that are happening right now is like a dream, yeah? It's just like you are in slumber, and like it doesn't look real at all until you finally look at the people around you and the things that are happening to them, and it finally clicks that this is the reality. This is what America has become. This is what President Trump has done to Americans. This is what people voted for, and they are regretting their decisions. And it's a bit too late because he has some more years to be in power. And if any president is going to come in to help the situation, then just be rest assured that it's going to take quite some time for things to be in place, because the mess that has been created by the current president is going to take quite some time to find, solutions to. Now, guys, let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what you think about what Shahid Bolson says on this video. And if you have stuff that you agree on or disagree on, feel free to share in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this video. And for the rest of the people, kindly consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Those that have subscribed and have been part of this family and this journey since we started, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for the massive support. Thank you for always being there for me. Thank you for leaving comments. Thank you for those that appreciate me, those that appreciate the videos, those that are asking questions, want to know me better, guys. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I'm so honored and privileged to have you as part of my online family. Guys, I will see you on my next video. Bye for now.